Welcome to another S&P 500 analysis. Today is June 26, 2021. The S&P 500 made another new high and closed with another new closing high. This was not a surprise to us since we were alerted on 6/15 to be on the lookout for this possibility. What is news is where were the tech stocks? The Nasdaq did not make a new high on Friday with the S&P 500. Is this a bearish sign? In this video, we will take a look at the price action of the S&P 500 and the other major market indexes, the market internal and the market sentiment, gold, US dollar, 10-year yield, silver, and oil, so stay tuned. For those that are new to this channel or might not be familiar with some of the market internals or the sentiment indicator I review in this video, I have released a video recently that will give you an explanation on these indicators and how to use them. There's a link for this video in the description below, so go and click on that link to watch the video if you'd like to have more detail on these market sentiment and market internal indicators. Now let's take a look at the big picture of the S&P 500 on this weekly chart. As you can see, the price is came back up and came back inside of this wedge here and close above this trend line, and also is above the 10-week and 40-week moving average, and both of these moving averages are in a upward trend. So the price is still showing no sign of reversal. The range for last week was 112.72 points, and it gained 114.25 points or 2.74%. Now, before we go and take a look at the price action of the S&P 500 and other major market indexes in more detail, let's take a look at the market sentiment. Here I have the daily chart of the S&P 500. As you can see, on Friday, it closed at a new all-time closing high and also made a new all-time high. The high was 4,286.12 and it closed at 4,280.70. So that's a closing high, and you see the market sentiment, the fear index, the VIX is sitting at 15.62. It's underneath this 20 level or beneath this 20-30 zone. And also the put call ratio is sitting at 0.51, although it came up a little bit, but it's still way below this 0.75 level. So the market participants are still very complacent and are bullish and putting on risk. And looking at this up-down volume ratio of the New York Stock Exchange, we see that there was a slight expansion on Thursday with a 3.0, in other words, 3 times more up volume than down volume. And on Friday, it contracted a bit. It's half of what Thursday was, pretty much. It was sitting at 1.4, so still there were 1.4 times more up volume than down volume. And the daily advanced decline also contracted from the Thursday high of 1,251 more advancing issue than declining issue down to 307 on Friday. So that does not show a broad market participation in the New York Stock Exchange or pushing up the S&P 500. And we're going to take a look at the heat map to see what is actually pushing the market up and what didn't. And here, looking at the New York Stock Exchange new high, new low, there were 209 more 52-week highs than 52-week low. So it is coming up a little bit, so that's a good sign. But the level of or the amount of new 52-week high over 52-week low is still not at a level that we would like to see, especially when the S&P 500 is making a new all-time high. Now here's the cumulative advanced decline. Here's the little concern that we have here. You'll notice that the this is the S&P 500 closing price, and you see the S&P 500 closed with a new all-time high here. All-time closing high, but look at the advanced decline is actually, it did not come up to a new high or take out this pivot high here, because on this this day, the 6/11, the the cumulative advanced decline line for the New York Stock Exchange was sitting at 29,442. And on Friday, with a new closing high, it is sitting at 29,036. So it's lower than the prior high here on 6/11. So that's a negative divergence, and we need to be a little cautious and pay attention to how this AD line perform in the coming days relatively to the S&P 500. Now, looking at the Nasdaq market, the Nasdaq 100 had a down day on Friday. Not only did not accompany the S&P 500 into a new high close, it was down a little bit over 20 point or 0.14%. And looking at the up-down volume ratio, which is a little bit of a positive divergence, right? We got more up volume than down volume, while the Nasdaq 100 was down. And the up volume in favor of the up volume at a 1.26 times more than the down volume. And also the advanced decline was positive on Friday also. So that is a little bit of a positive divergence. There were 438 more advancing issue than declining issue, although it wasn't as high as on Thursday, where it had a big day making a new all-time high with 1776 more advancing issue than declining issue on Thursday. But we did see a contraction on Friday, which is actually not too bad considering that Nasdaq 100 actually closed down. And here's the new high, new low for the Nasdaq market on Friday. Actually had a little bit more than Thursday's new high, new low. The new high outnumbered the new low by an amount of 195. And here the cumulative advanced decline line. It's a good thing on Friday, without having the Nasdaq 100 making a new all-time high or closing up, is that it gives a little bit of an opportunity for the cumulative advanced decline to make a little bit more headroom on the upside. So right now, though it still have not cleared this pivot high, but it is getting closer. So maybe next time when we see the Nasdaq 100 come up and put in a new closing high, the advanced decline line will not pose a negative divergence. So looking at the sentiment and the market internal, although we just saw the Nasdaq 100 show a little bit of a lagging performance, but on a relative basis, the internal is actually improving a little bit. On the S&P 500, we did not see any deterioration of the internal that raised a warning flag for us to be cautious. So now let's go and take a look at the price action of the S&P 500 and the other major market indexes and see what they are telling us and what we should be prepared for in the coming week. Now let's take a look at the price action of the S&P 500. On this daily chart, we see on Monday that the S&P 500 had a huge day, and it regained all the loss that it incurred on previous Friday plus more, and it came back and reclaimed this trend line, and on Tuesday got a nice follow through. Usually we get a little bit of a reversal on Tuesday, but then on Wednesday it was actually flirting with this 42.57, this previous all-time high, and it got close but did not make it, and it closed down a bit. Then on Thursday and Friday they both have a gap up day, and on Thursday it gap up almost above this all-time high, just a little bit of 1 point or so, and it closed with a new closing high and also made a new all-time high. Then on Friday we got this little bit of a spinning top here, gapped up again, and it also closed with a new closing high and a new all-time high. So right now the price action, and also just from the internal, we are not seeing much of a deterioration or any sign that this market had made a top yet. So for the potential upside target, we're still looking at this 127 extension up at this 4,300 level at 4,310. And on the downside, for the near term, we're basically looking for the prior all-time high at the 42.57 level, actually first level of potential support. Then come down and we'd be looking at this 42.32.60 as the next level of support here. Then if it continues to pull back and consolidate the recent run, then we'd be looking at these low here somewhere around the 41.60 area. Looking at the Nasdaq 100 daily chart, we saw that on Monday, the Nasdaq also came up, start making a move, and on to get back into this high here. Then on Tuesday, you see that it took out the new high, the previous new high, and put in a new high, and also closed at a new closing high. And we saw this little bit of a doji type of a spinning top, and we're talking about the possibility of maybe setting up a reversal pattern on Thursday if we see a down candle, a down day, this evening star pattern. But it did not materialize. Instead, it printed another, more of like a shooting star type of a doji here. Then again, we're basically looking for a down day and possibly setting up a evening star type of pattern. Well, it came close. It did not really set up that ideal, shooting, the evening star type of pattern. We did see a down day from the Nasdaq, but it's not much of a, reversal here because as we saw earlier, the market internal shows that the advanced decline, the up-down volume was actually positive. So this is just a little bit of a correction here on a possible profit taking. And we're going to take a look at the heat map and see exactly what's going on here that caused this little bit of a pullback here on the Nasdaq later on. So for the upside, for the Nasdaq 100, we're still keeping an eye on this 127 extension up at the 14,584 level. And that's based on this particular swing here. And we just apply a Fibonacci retracement to get some potential upside target in this new high territory. Then on the downside, once again, just like the SP 500, come back down to this pivot high here at 14,073 as the first level of support. And if it doesn't hold, then we're basically looking for it to come down to this level here at 13,713. Looking at the Russell 2000, it actually had a good week here. If you noticed on Monday, it had a nice strong reversal candle here, and it came up to test this 2297 level. Then on Wednesday, it actually got above it and closed above it. Then on Thursday, a nice solid follow through with a strong day. But then on Friday, we got a little bit of a reversal candle here, and we are looking at this little bit of a shooting star type of candle. So we kind of have to keep an eye on that. Maybe we might see a little bit more pullback. But once again, similarly, we're talking about on the Nasdaq, beware of a potential down candle that might set up a little bit of a evening star type of pattern. And if we see that, then we could see a little bit of a pullback and possibly come back down to retest this 2296.90 or 2297 level that we've been talking about. But if it's just kind of do a little bit of a consolidation and stay above that, we could see another push and try to take out this 2360.20, which is the all-time high here for the Russell 2000. So on the upside, continue to look for the all-time high, and then for the downside, once again, we be looking at the 2297 level. And if that doesn't hold, then we essentially looking at this particular low from the previous Friday, which would be somewhere down at the 2230 area. And for the Dow Jones Transportation, it didn't do much, but it did held its ground here. Did not give up much ground on last week. It it did remain above this trend line here and stay inside of this channel. And right now, it is still trying to get back above this 15,000 level. So we're going to keep an eye on this, see would it be able to make a little bit more progress on breaking to reclaim the 15,000 level and come up and possibly take out this particular resistance level that was support, and that level up here is somewhere around 15,300. Okay, so but the downside is we got to keep an eye on this lower price channel trend line. If we break this trend line, then we be looking at the possibility of coming down to this 14,240. But first is keep an eye on this low here, somewhere around 14,600 area. And the Dow Jones Industrial last week also had a nice week. It reclaimed again the loss from Friday, and also it moved back up, getting close to this trend line once again. So there could be a possibility the Dow Jones Industrial might make another move at making an attempt to come up to this new closing high. Remember, we still have the Dow theory in play, so we are still expecting to see the Dow Jones Industrial to come up and make a new closing high. So there's a nice gap on Friday, so we might see a little bit of a backfill and try to fill this gap next week. If it does, then keep an eye on this level here and on this low. Okay, so those are the two potential support level that we need to keep an eye on. And if it does, continue to push up, then again, that the new all-time closing high is the first target level. Once it get take that out, then we will take a look at what is the next level or potential level for the Dow Jones Industrial. Okay, so right now I'm not going to put up any kind of projection on what the potential upside target is beyond the new closing high. The other level that we could look at is this right here, this all-time closing high level here. I mean, this all-time high at 35,091. So the closing high is 34,777.76 for the Dow Jones Industrial. So that's the level. Oh, that's the initial target that we are looking at right now on the Dow Jones Industrial. And once again, the 33,000 is the level of support to keep an eye on if it does decide to pull back. And looking at the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index, then we can see that it is also trying to make its way back up to its closing high here at 16,708. So that's the level to keep an eye on in the coming week, is to see will the composite, the New York Stock Exchange Composite, be able to put in a new closing high. And if it does pull back, then here's the level that we'll be watching first is this trend line. And this level here, somewhere near the 16,150 or so. And then here's the 15,775. So, but this is the level to keep an eye on for the coming week, 16,146 area, 150 area. Then the upside will be the closing high, and also this all-time high here. This value here is 16,726.95. And if the New York Stock Exchange Composite makes a new closing high next week, then I would probably make a guess that the Dow Jones Industrial will likely also be in the same camp and making a new closing high. I mean, that's just my guess. I'm not predicting anything here. So we'll keep an eye on it and see what will be able to come up and take out this closing high and put in a new closing high. Now, just to follow up on the E-mini S&P 500 future, remember we were talking about this all-time high from the Globex trading session on June 15 at this level 4258.25, and that was the message from the market telling us to be on the lookout for a new closing high or a new high from the S&P 500. And as you can see, it took that out on Thursday, and we saw a new closing high and a new high from the S&P 500 on Thursday. And same thing on Friday, it also had a follow to just like the S&P 500. So right now, the ES, the E-mini S&P 500 future is still looking bullish, but it did not give us any signal to tell us to look for a new closing high for the S&P 500. So we'll see. It might come on Sunday, right? When the Globex market open up for trading. So we'll keep an eye on the price action on Sunday and see is there any new clues for us to keep an eye on for the possibility of a new high for the S&P 500. Looking at the 10-year yield on this chart here, you see that it came up a bit on Friday. It came up to 1.536. Okay, so it's getting back into the zone. We've got to keep an eye on this to see would it be moving back up toward this 1.76 level here. I know people probably be looking at this trend line here and keeping an eye on this trend line to see what it break above that, and maybe it will start climbing again, and that's when we probably will see a little bit of a pullback action on the indexes. Looking at the US dollar, we see the US dollar is still sort of hovering in this area here. So it's kind of consolidating, although we see a little bit of a, these tails here. So right now, we'll see what the dollar come up to the 92 level here and get it back into this zone and try to work itself up to this 94. But my suspicion is going to be looking at the dollar possibly pulling back and retest this 91.24 area. But again, depending on the 10-year yield, we saw the 10-year yield from the previous chart. It came up a bit on Friday. So if that yield comes up, we'll keep an eye on the dollar and then see how that will react to that yield. Here, looking at crude oil, remember that 75 level that we are looking for. Right now, it is inching closer and closer to that level. It closed at 74.05 on Friday. See, you got a little bit of a pullback on Thursday, did not hold. And right now, this this crude oil market seems like it is destined to come up to this zone here, and that will bring it up to this 75 area. And the silver prices continue to inch up and try to reclaim this trend line here. So we're going to keep an eye on it, this target to that 2667, see would it be able to get back above this level and try to work itself back up toward this 2950 area. But again, it could come up and get rejected and then get pushed back down at this 2470 level here. Here we see gold is consolidating here. Once again, we are basically looking for this to move back up to this $1,804 level and see would it be able to reclaim that level and try to push through and get back into this 1846 and possibly work itself back up to this 1923 level. And if we could break, I'm still looking at the possibility of the 1960 area. So I'm keeping an eye on this to see, is it going to be another move down to the 1700 level, or would it come up to this 1804? So I'm still waiting for a move in either direction before I start looking for possible long setup to basically playing it back up to this 1923 level on a swing long. Finally, let's take a look at the ES on the profile chart here. Here's the market profile, and as you can see from this chart here, we saw it had a nice little bit of a balanced day on Friday. Now, there is a poor low that is set up on Friday, so we will likely see price to come down and resolve that poor low in the next few days, if not on Monday. Then there is this point of control that need to be tagged as well. Then we got all these stuff down here, this unfinished business. So wouldn't be surprised to see the market decide to do a little bit of a pullback and then try to come down and clean up some of these unfinished business. A lot of single print, these poor structure from this week. So a lot of these single print need to get repaired or get filled. Then if we look at the volume profile, you see that the value area been just moving up, except on this day it's an inside day here, but all in all it's still moving upward on each successive day. So you could say that even on the profile itself, it is one time framing up, and also the point of control is also moving up. So this market still saying it is strong and is in an upward trend, and the market is accepting these higher prices. So we should expect further upside from this E-mini S&P 500 that imply the S&P 500. So we keep an eye on it. I'm not saying that there's not going to be any pullback, because we got a lot of these low volume area that need to be addressed, right? These low volume zone here. And here looking at this heat map for the S&P 500, as you can see, the strongest group last week on Friday was the financial. You can see the financial is all green here, and the contrast is, look at the semiconductor down here. Remember on Thursday we saw all the semiconductors pretty much green, right? And on Friday, not too many of them is all actually green. Micron got a nice day, 1.8% gain. But look at these tech stock, right? If we switch over and looking at the Nasdaq 100 heat map, where most of the tech reside, you see, semiconductor not much, and all these large cap tech stock is all red on Friday. So that's the reason why we are seeing the Nasdaq did not participate in the move into a higher territory, and we saw a negative day on the Nasdaq. But again, it's not a broad market decline for the Nasdaq on Friday. It's only concentrated on these large cap tech stock. So we'll keep an eye on the coming week and see what the market will bring us, and see do we see any more follow through, and always pay attention to the possibility of a climatic top, right? That we might see some kind of euphoria spike, and that should raise a red flag. So we'll see what next week will bring. Will the market hit another new high, or will it pull back a bit, consolidate, and then make another push? So we'll see, but keep an eye out for the Dow Jones Industrial for the coming week, because I think that we might see some positive price action on the Dow Jones Industrial. So in summary, we saw a little bit of a conflicting result between the Nasdaq and the S&P 500, and we also noticed that only the S&P 500 made a new closing high and also made a new all-time high on Friday, and that usually kind of raised a red flag to us that this might be a top. But then we inspect the market internals and the sentiment, and we noticed that the sentiment did not really get to a euphoric state, although it's been complacent, wasn't doing anything different than the recent past. And then the internal, we noticed that there were a little bit of improvement. At least we are not seeing deterioration of the internal, such as the advanced decline or the new high, new low. It actually, the new high, new low is holding its ground and trying to make a little bit more progress to expand that more new 52-week high than 52-week low. And the advanced decline is actually positive, although we are getting a negative divergence between the S&P 500 and the New York Stock Exchange advanced decline. But that, we just have to keep an eye on to see how will that perform in the coming week, when the if the S&P 500 continue to push into a new high territory. Will the advanced decline continue to present itself as a more negative divergence? If that happens, then yes, we will need to be concerned. But right now, the advanced decline, cumulative advanced decline line, it's not telling us that the top is in. And also with the Nasdaq 100, we see a little bit of a profit taking, maybe from the recent run up on these FANG stock is holding back the Nasdaq 100, but the advanced decline is actually gave us a little bit of a positive divergence on Friday. So all in all, the market is getting a little extended, but people have been saying that, hey, we're going to get this big major correction and sell off and that kind of stuff. I don't see it yet. That day is not here yet. So we just have to keep an eye on the market to see when it's going to tell us the top is in. And based on what we are looking at right now, the market internals are not telling us the top is in. And by the way, if you happen to watch the video all the way to the end to this point, congratulations, I got a surprise for you. I have recorded a couple videos on a couple trades that I took on Tesla, and I have that link in the description below. If you're interested in watching that video, just go down to the description below and click on that link, and also let me know what you think of those trades and those type of video. Would you like to see more of those? So thank you for watching, and be sure to smash that thumbs up to help me promote and share this video, and stay safe.